Law enforcement officers arguably are the largest gang in America. Oftentimes, police unions spend more time protecting law enforcement officers or LEOs who bully, lie on, and kill unarmed citizens more than they spend. Welcome to my journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers. It's no wonder the National Fraternal Order of Police has endorsed Donald Trump, a convicted felon, for president over career prosecutor Kamala Harris, because many of them know with Trump in charge, they can continue to be crooked ass cops that they are. That and the fact that Trump said he will, quote, give them immunity from prosecution, unquote. I want to thank my subscribers for joining. If you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. I bet Officer Danny Torres supports Donald Trump. Torres is the Miami-Dade cop who was put on desk assignment after he used excessive force against Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill during a traffic stop. The cop cam video was released and posted on YouTube. You can see parts of it here, and you can see all of it on YouTube if you care to go look at it. Go ahead, let me turn it down a little bit more. So you're watching parts of the cop cam video that shows the Miami-Dade police stopping Tyreek Hill the other day in Miami. Now, here's how I know that Torres is the kind of cop that probably endorses Trump. In his 27-year career, Officer Torres is still a street cop. Now that tells me that there's a problem with his leadership skills. Nobody who becomes a cop is still doing in year 27 what they started doing on day one on the job. That's a professional red flag, unless he just likes being on the street so he can bully people. Now, according to news agencies who pulled Torres's HR record, he has been suspended 6 times and he still has a job. Can you get suspended 6 times from your job and still have a job to go to? That is the question. I doubt it. And if you want to comment, I'll be watching the chat. You're watching my journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers. Let me see. Now, also, that's an indication that there is a problem with upper management for them to allow somebody to get 6 suspensions and still have a job to go to. Because like I said, I don't think you or I could get suspended 6 times on the same job and still not get terminated. Torres got suspended for 20 days in 2018. He got suspended for 10 days in 2019. He got suspended 4 times for 5 days each between 2014 and 2016. And let's not overlook that he received 4 written reprimands between 1999 and 2020. Now Torres is on administrative duties while they investigate the Tyreek Hill incident. But there are cop cams with different angles. There was countless witness video, and Mr. Hill, the person who got manhandled, has spoken out about the way he was treated. Now, in case you missed Hill's explanation, let me go ahead and get out of that. In case you missed Hill's explanation, he said that, of course, he was on the way to the stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. He was on the way to Hard Rock Stadium for the game. He was speeding. He admits that he was speeding. He said the cop stopped him and asked him for the first officer that he engaged him, asked him for his driver's license. He gave it to him, and then he immediately rolled up his window because it was a couple of blocks from the stadium. People were walking to the stadium. People were driving to the stadium. He didn't want people to start taking pictures and then posting about it. So he rolled his window up. Now, the cops, on the other hand, said they didn't know. They wanted him to keep his window down because they didn't know what was going on inside the vehicle, which I can understand that. But you know who he is. You have his driver's license. You can assume that they knew he was on his way to the stadium. Like, what did they expect for him to do that could have been harmful to them? So then the cop came back up. This is still Hill's account, and started beating on his window of his vehicle, telling him to roll down the window. And then that's when Hill said he was on the phone with I think the security person for the Dolphins, to let him know what was going on. And then that's when the first officer came back and told him, roll down your window. And before he could officially comply with them rolling down his window, getting out of the car, then that's when Officer Torres chose to escalate the situation instead of de-escalating the situation, snatching Hill out of the car and over a simple traffic violation. So what else would there be to investigate? Because I feel like you had all the information. Now we've got somebody asking, what are you crying about? And I'm not sure what that is, so I'm not even going to say it. You probably guys can see it. I learned the other day that I can actually show the comments from the people who comment. But if we're going to have comments that have nothing to do with the conversation, then we'll have the moderators to block what's going on. But if you are here for the conversation, we want to thank you for that. So essentially, when it comes to law enforcement officers, the lives of Black people are undervalued and disrespected. It doesn't matter how much money a Black person has or that person's status, social status. White officers, Latino officers, and even Black officers will commit police brutality against Black people because they know that they can get away with it. You rarely see that happen to people of other races. And therein lies the problem. One of the things that Tyreek Hill said during the live of the cop cam video was, I'm a Black man in America. This is what happens. And one of the officers said, no, I'm Latino. I'm a brown man. But you never see them beating up on anyone else or pulling people out or showing excessive force to other people, other races. And that therein lies the problem. For some reason, they think, and apparently because they're able to get away with it, that they think these are the people that they can be forceful with and not have to have accountability. Now, here is the statement that was shared by Miami-Dade police. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. This statement is from Miami-Dade police, and it's saying essentially, following the incident involving Tyreek Hill, I have initiated an internal investigation to ensure a thorough review of the matter. One of the officers involved in the incident has been placed on administrative duties while the investigation is conducted. And it says, I'm committed to transparency and accountability to the community with any situation involving my officers. And this is from Deputy Director Steffanie Daniels of the Miami-Dade Police Department. So that is their official statement. But here's what I want to know, because sure, the transparency, I guess, is there because we've seen the video, the cop cam video. And now we need to see the accountability part, because for a person, 27-year officer like Torres, to still be on the job and to have six, at least that we know of, six suspensions on his record and four written reprimands on his record, and he's still on the job, that does not speak to accountability. And so, real accountability would be getting rid of cops like Torres, as well as Torres, who apparently would prefer to be on the street where they have that freedom to do what they want to do instead of being in a leadership position. Which, you know, if you don't have any leadership skills, then of course we don't want you in a leadership position, but we certainly don't want you on the street interacting with people when you have little to no regard for how you treat those people. So that appears to be what is going on with a cop like Officer Danny Torres. If you are in law enforcement or you know anybody in law enforcement, how do you feel about someone who is 27 years in and they're still on the street? That just, when I heard that, I'm like, ugh, that kind of speaks, that raises questions for me. Why would somebody still want to be? I mean, you've got people who are 27 years in and they are the police chief. Why would you still want to be a street cop 27 years in? I think Tyreek Hill himself is 27 years old. So you've been a police officer as long as this guy has been alive, and you're still doing the same thing that you were doing from the beginning. That just that makes me want to ask questions. So I'm going to we have Justin Michael, who says we need better police and we need a community as a whole to get better. Things are going to explode eventually. And I agree. Things do need to get better. And hopefully we don't have, I mean, I don't know how worse it could get. Every other day, somebody is getting there's video showing a person, mostly Black people, getting brutalized or getting shot and killed and by law enforcement. In fact, did you know that remember in Colorado, I forgot his name, but I'll tell you the story while I try to look up his name. In Colorado, the two paramedics who were charged in the death, charged in the death of the guy who was just walking home minding his own business, and they were sentenced. One was sentenced, Elijah McClain, that's his name. Elijah McClain was walking home minding his own business, and the cop stopped him and asked him where is he going, and they put him in some type of chokehold. He lost consciousness. They called paramedics. Paramedics came and gave him some type of sedative that apparently you only give a part of this sedative. You only give the amount of sedative based on the person's height and weight. Well, because Elijah was unconscious, nobody quite knew how much he weighed. And so they gave him enough for a 200-pound person, but he only weighed 150 pounds or something along those lines. And he ended up overdosing, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but it was too much of the sedative in his system, or whatever they gave him was too much for his system, and he died. So a judge sentenced one of the person who gave him the sedative, who administered the sedative to Elijah, gave him time in prison. I think it was 5 years in prison. Last March, he got 5 years in prison. Do you know, just last week, a district court judge overturned the conviction and gave the guy 5 years probation instead. So they clearly did not follow protocol, cause somebody's death, and then when they are rightfully charged and convicted and sent to prison, there's another person who comes along and says, get out of jail, and now he gets to go home. So that's where we are, in that even when we get these people held accountable, somebody comes along and undoes it. So that just tells me our work is never done. There's always going to be something for us to have to do. So we have um someone said, was the guy walking home black though? Because that means he could be dangerous and a thug. So I hope that's a joke, because he was not dangerous. He was not a thug. However, he was black. And that is why we need people in place who are going to hold people accountable. And so, yeah. So, that's really what I want to share with you, that in the end, we really have to stay vigilant and stay on top of things, because just like when you think that you have overcome a situation, or that you think somebody's being held accountable, there's always somebody who's looking over their shoulder, who's trying to undo the justice that has been done. And Justin Michael says, I've never heard about that one. I have to look into it. His name is Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain. He was in Colorado, and the two EMTs who were convicted, one of the paramedics was convicted for his death because he administered the drug that killed him. And so, yeah, they just overturned that. So that's all I got for you tonight. Just wanted you to know that initially that the Fraternal Order of Police has endorsed a criminal for president of the United States, of a party that claims to be about law and order. And and they against a career prosecutor who prosecutes people like the criminal that she's running against. So make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. To find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal